He didn't scream. He didn't explain. He didn't ask for pity. He simply disappeared. While the world laughed, mocked, and whispered behind his back, he vanished from their sight and walked straight into the fire, alone. They called him a failure, a loser, a man with no future. He had no money, no status, no influence. His dreams had collapsed and his confidence had gone silent. But in that silence, something began to grow. Something powerful. Something unbreakable. At first, he fought tears in private. The nights were long, cold, empty. No one texted to check on him. No one asked how he was doing. Because the truth is, no one really cared. The same people who smiled in his face had already written him off. They thought his story was over. They thought he was done. And maybe for a moment, so did he. But he didn't beg. He didn't go online and post quotes about how broken he was. He didn't seek sympathy. He did something far more dangerous. He looked in the mirror and owned everything. He said, "This is my fault, all of it. No more excuses, no more blaming, no more crying. This is my mess, and I'll clean it up alone." That was the day the old version of him died. The world didn't notice. They were too busy laughing, too busy gossiping. But while they mocked, he was in the shadows, rebuilding brick by brick. He started waking up at 5 a.m., no alarm clock, just fire in his blood. He hit the gym with fury. Every rep was an answer to an insult. Every drop of sweat was a reply to someone who doubted him. And while others chased cheap pleasure, he was chasing progress. He read, he studied, he learned. Finance, discipline, mindset, solitude. He stopped partying, stopped explaining, stopped wasting time. He chose boredom over chaos, silence over noise, and sacrifice over comfort. And the transformation wasn't loud. It was silent, consistent, and brutal. People didn't see him for months. Some thought he moved. Some thought he gave up. But what he was really doing was building something sacred. A version of himself so sharp, so strong, so clear, that when the world finally saw him again, they wouldn't even recognize who he was. He became unshakable. The kind of man who walks into a room and doesn't need to say a word, because his energy speaks for him. The kind of man who doesn't chase anyone, not for love, not for friendship, not for approval, because he realized the most dangerous man is the one who fixes himself in silence. When he reappeared, people froze. He looked different. He moved different. He spoke less. But when he did, every word cut deep. The same people who laughed at him were now asking, "How did you do it?" But he just smiled. Not out of arrogance, but because they didn't deserve the answer. They weren't there for the pain. They didn't see the nights he cried, alone. The mornings he couldn't get out of bed, but did anyway. The days he wanted to quit, but didn't. They weren't there when his bank account was empty and all he had was a vision in his mind and fire in his soul. So he said nothing. Because explaining your transformation to those who doubted you is a waste of breath. He had become a storm, in human form, not loud, but unstoppable. And yet, he wasn't angry anymore. He didn't seek revenge. He didn't want them to suffer. He just wanted distance, silence, peace. Because when you truly rise, you don't go back to prove a point. You go forward to live, a purpose. The laughter faded, the mockery died, and what replaced it was respect. Silent, trembling respect. Not because he asked for it, but because he became it. See, every man must face a season where he's alone, broken, misunderstood, mocked. And in that season, he has a choice: stay there and rot, or rise. And when he rises, not with noise, but with results, the world has no choice but to take notice. This man chose the hard road. He sacrificed comfort, love, and even his own pride to become someone worthy of the life he dreamed of. He didn't rely on motivation. He relied on discipline. He didn't wait for support. He became his own backbone. He didn't look outward. He looked inward. and fought the war no one saw. Do you understand how rare that is? To fall with no one there to catch you, and still rise anyway? To be counted out, and not use that as an excuse to stay down. But fuel to go even higher? That is power. That is manhood. That is transformation. And the truth is, we all have that power. But most don't use it. They get hurt and hide, get criticized and collapse, get betrayed and stay bitter. Not him. He turned every scar into armor, every setback into a stepping stone, every insult into rocket fuel. He didn't tell people he was coming. He just showed up, better than ever. And that's the secret no one talks about. Real growth is done in silence. You don't need to post it. You don't need to prove it. You just need to do it. Every single day, quietly, relentlessly, obsessively, until the results are so loud that the world has no choice but to listen. You see, the man who fixed his life in silence was never trying to impress anyone. He was trying to save himself. He was tired of feeling like a ghost in his own story, tired of pretending he was okay when he wasn't, tired of carrying everyone else's expectations and forgetting his own dreams. So he dropped it all. The fake smiles, the shallow friends, the need for validation. He embraced solitude, and in that sacred space, he met the real version of himself. Not the broken boy, not the insecure man, but the warrior, the leader, the force. And now, he doesn't care if you remember who he was, because he's too focused on who he's becoming. To every man listening to this, understand this. You are allowed to disappear for a while. You are allowed to shut the world out and work on yourself. You are allowed to be misunderstood, doubted, even laughed at, because the pain of staying the same is far worse than the pain of being alone for a season. And when you return, when you've built something real, no one can ever take that away from you. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. You don't owe them updates. What you owe is to yourself, to become the kind of man you can be proud of when no one's watching. The kind of man who can walk through fire and not flinch. The kind of man who doesn't need applause, because the mirror already claps for him every morning. This is your time, not to scream, not to post, but to disappear and build. Let them laugh, let them talk, let them doubt. Because when you rise, and you will rise, the same people who mocked you will rewrite their memories to say they always believed in you. But you'll know the truth. They weren't there. But you were, and you didn't just survive, you became unstoppable.